Hello, Be Awesome listeners, viewers, followers, subscribers. This is your host, Joshua Peach. This is an interesting one. This is a first ever back-to-back episode with the same person for two different podcasts. So if you've listened to the Be Awesome at Facility Management podcast, you know about Aubrey Kirkpatrick and the work that he does in Moncton, New Brunswick. If you haven't heard the Be Awesome at Facility Management podcast, when you're done listening to this, head over there if you want so you can hear the business side, which isn't all that different, and who Aubrey is, but you can learn about the work and the amazing work that he does for the 18,348 students in magnificent Moncton. I have asked my Be Awesome at Facility Management podcast co-host, Mr. Paul Anastasi, co-host with the most, to join us because last week, Paul took on the daunting task of driving 1,328 round-trip miles with me to go to Miramichi, Canada, to meet with Aubrey and 87 other New Brunswick ASBO members. And they, as in pure Paul fashion, he instantaneously made a bond with everybody there, but especially with Aubrey. And they're not similar. They don't have all the same beliefs and all the same thought process of things, and they got along great, which I thought was what we need more of. Political beliefs, any beliefs, and you don't need to agree with them to get along and have a bond, and you guys form one. So Paul, thanks for jumping on. We are here. We're not in Miramichi, Canada. No. We are in what was snowy yesterday, Albuquerque, New Mexico, of all places. And we're going to sit down here and we're going to get into Aubrey, the human being, personal side of things that's had some interesting, some difficult, some ugly, and some wonderful life experience. Yeah. So Aubrey, welcome first and foremost. Thanks for giving us your time on both podcasts. First ever, both channels.
I feel very honored. Yeah, it's awesome.
So Aubrey, born and bred in Canada?
Yes. New Brunswick. Yep. New Brunswicker.
So you started in Moncton and you're there straight through, or?
Moved to Fredericton to go to school.
Yeah.
And a neat fact, my wife and I, when we were in our late 20s, sold our house. We put our whatever little things we had into storage, got a backpack, and we traveled Europe for a little over 9 months, almost 10 months. Yeah, this is pre-K.
Yeah.
Pre-kids.
Yes.
And that was such an amazing time. We were over to, I think it was like over 19 countries, and we just traveled back and forth across the continent, and it was just magnificent.
So both of you were working before you went to Europe?
We both had jobs, and we said, you know what, life is short. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. So that's also known as a DINK.
Yes.
Dual income, no kids.
Well, we spent it all. And then some.
Start over.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Aubrey, you've been a personal friend of mine for almost 20 years, and it started as not a business friendship, because we didn't do business together for many years, but I was working to do business in Canada, and through that we built this bond, this friendship that I'm so grateful for, and I feel like I don't talk to you enough, but every time I do, I feel like it was just yesterday that we spoke.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk to you first and most importantly about was probably the hardest part of this conversation, unless you find something even more challenging that I didn't know to go through. I can't imagine anything more challenging to go through than what you did just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
When we talk about COVID, it probably hit you harder than anyone I know.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind just kind of sharing and tell the story. Yeah.
Sure. So I mean, COVID was full on in our province, just like it was around the world, right? It's a worldwide pandemic, right? And that's what a pandemic means. And, we were taking all the precautions. Our family, my mom and dad had moved into a seniors complex, and they were doing a great job looking after family there. And this was in December of, what did we figure that was? 2021.
Yeah.
And then they passed in January of 2022, because we're in 23. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Long day. Yeah. We celebrated Christmas together. Our family went over to they had an apartment in this really nice complex, and my dad had dementia, and basically I'd said goodbye to my father probably 6 or 8 months before, because the dementia was really, eating him up, right? And that was so difficult, right? And I know that he would not have wanted to really exist in that state. So anyway, we went over at Christmas. My mom, vibrant, lots of life, and just the most amazing individual. Like, just, she would do anything for anybody at any time. Anyway, so when we arrived, she had like trays of these gingerbread cookies she always made at Christmas time. I think there was over 200, right? And so she's still active and very vibrant and still driving and all that. She was 82. And come just after New Year's, it was on their, I didn't tell you this, it was on their 60th anniversary date. They both were diagnosed with COVID. They actually didn't get to be together because of it. They were separated because of COVID rules, and they both came down with the virus. And so Dad was the first to go. He died in the home, but Mom had been taken before, or just as Dad was going downhill fast. She went to the hospital, and she got on a ventilator right away, almost, because she was really sick and she couldn't kick it, right? So, one of the silver linings we talked yesterday, she didn't know Dad had gone, right? And Dad didn't know that she had gone. And so 5 days later, mom on the ventilator, she passed. We couldn't do anything. And during this whole time, I also came down with COVID. And so I couldn't be there by their side, and I couldn't be there when they left this world, unfortunately. And, with my mom, we, excuse me, my sister came down from Toronto, and she was with her when they took her off the ventilator. And because I couldn't be there, I recorded a message on my cell phone, and my sister played the message to my mom just before she passed, like within seconds, right? Mm-hmm. And that was really difficult. It's really, that whole thing was like PTSD, right? I still suffer a little bit from that event and that trauma, right? It was just to lose both your parents within 5 days was, unheard of. And then, of course, we couldn't properly grieve because there was all sorts of rules around COVID, and funeral, we couldn't have.
Canada, just a lot of our listeners, probably 95% of our listeners are in the United States.
Yeah.
Canada had very strict COVID guidelines.
We did.
So it was like you guys were on like lockdown, like not quite China, but you were.
There were periods of time we were into, month we were good, and then we locked back down and those kinds of things. So and then the rules around gatherings and social gatherings and stuff, even funerals, right, were limited the amount of people, and you couldn't hug. There was no hugs, and funerals is a place where you want to share and those kinds of things, and it was really difficult. So but we managed to pull off what I think was a really good farewell for both of them. And that's another odd thing, right? To do one funeral for both your parents, right? So, my sisters, we struggled with that a bit, but it was a special funeral. It was a special goodbye. I had a lot of people say, that was the way that you went about it and how you honored them. And I did my father's eulogy, and that was tough. But through higher power, I was able to do it and honored my father. And my mom's eulogy was done by her niece in Saskatchewan, who she had a really special bond with. And so anyway, tough times. But I wanted to share with you something that happened about 5 months later. So I had decided that I was going to get a tattoo in honor of both my parents. So Mom was going to get an eagle, and my dad was going to get wildflowers. I haven't got that yet, but it's in the hopper. It's going to happen in June again. So I'm at the cottage June, the day that I'm supposed to go and get this tattoo. And I'm sitting outside. I'm a little nervous. Never had a tattoo before. I don't know what to expect and all of this. I didn't ask, right? Because I'm a man. Right. I don't want to be surprised. And so I'm sitting there and having a cup. Beautiful day, and along comes an eagle. It flies over top and perches in the trees just next to the lot next door. And we see eagles on the lake all the time, but this one stayed, and it was there for about 45 minutes, and it was a visit. And I knew that something was up with this. So I went, got my phone, walked over, and I was taking pictures, and I was trying to sneak up on him. And I got right underneath, basically, of the eagle. And I was like in awe of this, right? And I was going to get an eagle tattoo right here. I'm going to show you in a second. So I got the phone that's hit record, and the eagle, I swear, and you'll see it, or you've seen it. The eagle actually looks at me, and then it plucks a feather out, right, and drops the feather, and the feather comes down. It comes in camera view, and it lands at my feet. And I'm like, what has just happened here, right? It was just mind-bending. And to me, I believe that it was a visit from my mom, and that it was like, you know, the message was that it was going to be okay. Everything is, you know, you're going to be okay with this, and with your tattoo, but also with us going, and we're in a good place, right? And so I share that story because I think it's important for people to be able to recognize, I think, signs from our loved ones that pass. And there's lots of evidence that that occurs. And the eagle's special, right? Because the eagle offering in many indigenous cultures believe that the eagle's sacred because it flies closest to the creator. It symbolizes respect, honor, strength, and courage and wisdom. And certainly here in the US, the eagle, it plays in a significant role. And it just, you know, made me feel like, you know, this has been tough, but, you know, we're watching over you and we're with you. I've seen lots of eagles since, and I continue to say, there they are.
So you may not have seen my post on LinkedIn, but I drive my son to school every day, and or when I'm at home, in the days that I don't, Amy does, and there's an eagle that I see every day, and I stop and I watch it, and I'm like sitting here, listen, I get the hair in the back of my neck is standing up, like, oh, there is some meaning and purpose to the eagle that I didn't know about, because I'm the only person, every time I drive down this one road along Sharon Lake, I'm the only person that undoubtedly every single time the eagle's sitting in a tree where I can see it. And you know, and Amy sees it sometimes, and other people see it sometimes, but I see it every time, and that's pretty wild. And
I think that they, you know, we're all connected. We're all part of a spirit world in one form or another, right? And so that's what I want to believe, anyway, whether it's true or not.
So the belief is what you want it to be, and that's you know, I tell people, you know, because there's people that don't believe in Santa Claus. I believe in Santa Claus, and I'm good friends with Santa Claus. If I didn't believe in Santa Claus, then who's the guy that I talk to on the phone, right? But I always I tell people, I say, why would you try to get anybody to believe something that they don't believe in, right? So if you believe in it, you know, believe in it, and believe in it wholeheartedly and emphatically. So
so here's the you can see that.
You can put it right there in the camera.
See that, Paul?
I got it. Wow, that's cool.
It's in flight, and that's
in the attack position.
So the next step is I'm going to get You Belong, and then the Tom Petty song Wildflowers, because my dad always picked flowers for my mom, right? And wildflowers, and sometimes when in his early stages of dementia, he'd take a walk around the block, he'd come back with flowers. We think he was going to people's gardens and taking a few flowers, right?
That's all right.
But hey, nothing happened. So I'm going to get that, and then some flowers that'll go up here and inside here, and just have
a serious piece of art.
It's going to be good, and it's a tribute to them.
So now you're hooked on tattoos too, I bet, right? Because it's when I talk to people that are nervous, they get it, and then they go, man, that was so cool, I'm going to keep going.
I think so, a little bit.
I'm
a CrossFitter at this. I'm in my 7th year at CrossFit, and you know, there's a subset of CrossFitters that are, you know, love the tattoos, right? So
wow. That's I can't imagine, you know, the shock, right? Christmas, gingerbread cookies, 60th anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Like,
there's so many things,
right? That's just like, wow.
You know,
and you still had a day job that was going through still a very difficult time of making sure that you know, your 18,348 kids and your 2,500 employees were still getting what they needed to do.
Yeah, for
That-
sure.
And,
And this is,
and one of the big points that I make is I know what we were going through as adults.
yeah,
I can't imagine what the kids were going through,
yeah, yeah,
you know, because we're supposed to be able to make sense of that.
yeah,
And, you know, kids 6, 7, 10 years old. I mean, I've got grandkids that are that old, and it's like, what's going on in their head when we're going through what
yeah.
what we were doing.
And I think we're going to see the follow to that, you know, in our lives, in our
Mhm.
kids' lives and their kids'
Yeah.
lives over the next, you know, 10, 20 years, because that's what happened in the pandemic that happened in the 20s, right? They saw, and we can go back and look at the fallout from a mental health perspective and productivity and so forth. So, you know, one of the things that came out of that time was that, you know, we quickly learned that our role as school business officials, as leaders within a school district, were very crucial to making sure that there was, you know, proper supplies, proper PPE. It's funny because I was out, you know, in my car delivering masks and test kits, and you know, as the director, that's what we did because it needed to be done, right? And so you just do. In time of emergency, you pick up and
we go into that mode. We go into that mode. It's like, what's important right now? This is what we need to
do what's in front of you.
Let me,
Yeah.
you have always been, and probably why we get along so well, a glass is half full, optimistic, wanting to make people happy.
Yeah.
Even though you say you're introverted, I think there's some extroversion. It's a press, it's a challenge that you have.
I'm not buying the introverted part.
No, I buy it. I buy it. I know, but I think he's personally challenging himself to get out of his comfort zone,
Right.
as he does with CrossFit and other things. I've never asked you this. You must have been angry, right? You had to have been angry at some point. And I think that, and you may not have been, but you know, there was so much divide in the United States anyway. I don't know about Canada, where it was anti-vax, vax, it's real, it's fake, it's this, it's that, all while you're going through where you directly tie with both your parents and you. Like, was there a point where you were like, and I hope I'm not, if you weren't, that all of a sudden now you're angry and you're like, thanks, Josh, you just brought this to my attention. But was there a
Yeah, I can't believe you're asking this question because it was a major struggle, and actually still is a major struggle for me. And I just got goosebumps again. I think after mom and dad had passed, and you know, you're dealing with that immediate, you know, just trying to survive, and then how to look after their estate and all of that, you know. But so then I started seeing in Canada we had this crazy thing called the truckers convoy, and you probably heard about it. So there's a whole group of people that were coming into Ottawa to protest, you know, the restrictions that we had. And you know, I looked at what was behind that, who were the leaders, where did this start? And it was clear that they had nefarious backgrounds, right? They were kind of they were racist leaning, division, separatists, that kind of, you know, that was what was behind. Now, the people that participated, not necessarily, right? Because they were upset about COVID, like we all were, right? We were tired of all of it, right? But anyway, I had some people that I really respected and trusted, and who started lining up on that side of the road. And I'm like, I got pretty mad. I got into a lot of conversations offline. I never posted back online. They made a post and I'd go, you know, but I did contact a few of them and say, you know, like, I cannot believe you're going down this path, you know, because I've lost 2 parents because of COVID. It's real, dude, you know, and it's, we need protections especially for the vulnerable populations, right? And maybe that's where we could have done better, is really looking after the vulnerable populations, you know, people who are immune deficient and all of that. That's hindsight now. But yeah, I was angry for a long time, and still a wee bit angry. I'm still trying to work it out, because I have to figure out why am I angry? It's not their problem. I'm angry, so I got to figure out, why do I still have some of that feeling in me, right? And so I'm still working through that. But yeah, I went on, I had a couple of really difficult conversations with people about some of the ways that they were thinking.
Yeah, I only say that because, you know, you and Paul do have some
like
some couple of things that you have not agreements on, but you were able to have that conversation, and I've seen that happen where it doesn't happen that often, and you guys became like really good friends really quickly.
Yeah.
And so when that was happening, you know, I'm thinking, and you know, part of it is, you know, my company is Be Awesome, and everybody thinks I'm always awesome. I always have to be awesome, right? You can't. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. You know, I've told people this. You know, I lost my grandmother 2 days after Thanksgiving, and you know, I'm 47 years old, and she was 5 days from being 100.5.
Right.
And she died doing what she loved, which was sweeping the deck and getting ready for a party.
Yeah.
So like, she ate Portuguese rolls. She hadn't eaten solid food in like 8 years, and she was stealing Portuguese rolls all day. So she went about as good a way you could go and have it on. And so, you know, I talk to people that say stuff to me, and I say, I want to be upset. I want to be angry, but how do I do that when I had such a long life with someone, and I got to spend more of my life with someone than most people spend with their own parents, right? But I've had a couple of moments where, you know, someone said something kind of silly or stupid that bothered me, and I was sitting there going, man, that bothers me. How do I react to it? And with social media, and you're such a social media, we have a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I believe that social media has a purpose. If everybody was like you on social media, which I haven't looked at a lot. I don't go on social media and look at stuff, but from what you tell me and the limited things that I see, and you like and comment on just about everything kindly on my Be Awesome page. If everybody was like you on social media, then social media would be a much better place. It would be a much better place.
Yeah.
Right. But it isn't. And so
I think that people just they need to respect someone else's view and respect their opinion. You know, I was always told that it's right because it's your opinion, and no one can tell you that your opinion is wrong because it's your opinion.
Right.
They might disagree with what your opinion is.
Yeah.
But you know, in the end, I mean, give me the good old days, and I can't believe that I'm using that term. But give me the good old days where
too much time
you know,
with me.
politicians in the U.S. would get on that floor and they would debate back and forth, and then at the end of the day, they'd meet down at the corner and have a couple of beers together.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we need to get back to that.
There's more that we have in common than the few things that we don't agree on, right?
Right.
As human beings and as people who, you know, want to help those around them, right? And you know, I know my parents were in their 80s, right? And they're not going to live forever. I knew that. And so some people say, oh, well, you know, they were old. So, you know, that kind of pisses you off. Right? Can I say that? And, but they're my parents, right? And they meant a lot, right? I mean, my mom and my dad were like, you know, I only lived 2 kilometers from them, right? And so we were all the time together. My mom was also very much like me. She liked to be very positive and post positive. And the other thing that she would do on my social media, and my good friend Sean from the DFA from the West, he does it all the time, right? So I post something and he'll comment and make fun of me. And my mom would get with Sean and make fun of me as well. So they had this special relationship. And another funny story, Sean, we were at ASBO International in Portland, and he met Angie. And Angie, I introduced them, and Angie goes, oh, you're Sean, you're Facebook Sean. So she knew him from the funny comments that he makes on my post. But I did want to say this because I think it's important, because you know, all things happen for a reason. I was telling Josh last night that I made a decision in the summertime before my parents passed to train like an Olympic athlete. I've always been an athletic and have done things, but I've always drank and ate whatever I want and that sort of thing. But I said, I'm going to just try this. I'll clean living for a bit. And so I gave up alcohol and I gave up, you know, chips. Crazy, right?
Don't do it.
I know. And so I'm eating healthy and all of this, and it really made a huge difference. But why I'm telling you this story is because during the pandemic, prior to this commitment I made to myself to compete in the Canadian National Masters weightlifting, was that I was drinking way too much, right? I was, using alcohol to numb
Vice, yeah.
things out, just, and so anyway, I made the commitment, stuck with it. And so when everything happens with my parents, my default mechanism would have been to go at the bottle, get beer, get whatever, and zone out and numb out.
Mhm.
And I'm really afraid that had I not been on this, mission,
Yeah.
that it would have turned different for me.
Right.
And so I'm thankful that I had that, providence, the way things worked out. I ended up competing in June at the Canadian Weightlifting Championships as an old fart, and it was fantastic, and I'm going to keep doing them, keep doing Olympic lifts, so it's clean and jerk and the snatch, and and I haven't had a drink since that time period, so it's been like 14 or 15 months, and I really liked having a drink. I enjoyed craft beer like way too much. But
I didn't know that what you ordered last night was non-alcoholic, by the way, until we had this conversation after I already had a drink or two.
No, but so what I've learned, Josh, though, is that the negative voice in your head says you can't.
Yeah.
You can't get along. You can't go to a conference and have fun. You can't
make
conversation. You can't do this. And it's not true.
Yeah.
And I've learned it the hard way, and I still have the voice,
Yeah.
right? I told you last night that, I got your invite, and the first thing I thought was, oh no, because this is the introvert in me. Like, I don't want to go out. But I had the best night, right? And so you have to, now I recognize the voice for what it is, push it aside and push through. And we had the best night, and I had so many laughs. And the food was fantastic.
And we were in a 300-year-old Adobe.
Right? Yeah. How many times can you do
Place
that?
is called High Noon. Anybody that comes to Albuquerque, go to Old Town and go to High Noon, and
highly
you won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm listening to this, and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to your tattoos and all of these things, and you talk about signs, and I want to share a sign that I had, and so my grandmother had fallen on her deck, and the paramedics and firefighters came, and thankfully Chris Mills, who was on either the episode before or after this, because I haven't released it yet, but I recorded it with him in the Easton Community Access TV studio earlier this week. He was one of the paramedics, which I was a godsend, right? So they took my grandmother to the hospital. My mother went, and all along I'm just like, she's just doing another one of her funny episodes, or she's going to be fine, or whatever. And I didn't think about it. Now, my grandmother and I shared the same birthday. Right? She was my best friend.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I'm at home. I'm kind of thinking about all these different things, but I'm not thinking anything. And my mother sends a text, and she says, "Get to the hospital quick." She doesn't tell me anything else. And I called her. I got in my truck and I called her, and she said, I said, what's going on? And she says, the doctors came, and they need to have all the family here to say goodbye. And so I've got a truck and pickup truck, and I go down the road. I'm doing 100. I hope none of the local police officers are listening to this, but I'm doing about 100 miles an hour. I'm just flying, because the last thing I want to do is I don't want to be there, right? Like, I don't want to not be there, and that's the hardest thing, like what you went through. I had the feeling that your parents left, that you were able to feel that you thanked them, that you had the relationship with them, that they knew how you felt. And that's what my grandmother was, the first person really in my life that I was comfortable knowing that I left nothing on the table. Like, I told her everything, I thanked her, I loved her, everything, but I still want to be there. So I'm doing about 100 miles an hour. I'm driving. I get to the first of the lights. Hit the brakes. And all of a sudden I go, "What the hell am I doing?" And it wasn't how fast I was driving. It was the fact that, because starting on November 1st, all the radio stations played Christmas music, or most of them played Christmas music. And Christmas music is playing in our house and in our cars from November 1st until, December 26th or January 1st, whenever it stops. And I was so angry because it's happy Christmas music playing, and I'm not happy. And so I hit scan on the radio. I didn't turn off. I hit scan. And all of a sudden, on this first station I stopped at, the voice singing says, "They say in life you die twice. The first time when they bury you, and the second time when they stop talking about you." And I went to the hospital, and talked to my grandmother. I told her it was okay, and it's that time. And I went home and I told Amy, and she says, yeah, it's a song by Macklemore. It's called Be Glorious.
Yes, yeah.
And so I was like, is that real? And I looked it up, and it's an Egyptian belief that you do die twice. It's when you get buried and then when you get put in the ground.
Yeah.
And I share with you that
Yeah.
my grandmother and I shared the same birthday.
Yeah.
June 5th. The title of the album is Gemini.
Oh, really?
And I sat here and I said, what are those chances of those signs happening, that there wasn't this some sort of something that's saying it's going to be okay, and as long as you talk about me, I'll be with you. And I think that eagle tattoo is that video is exactly what you've got. And it was, I was listening to you, and I'm just getting I was just getting this feeling. I'm going, oh my God, maybe this glorious thing really was a sign.
Definitely was, for sure.
Wow.
And I plan to. Sorry, go ahead.
Is it time for me to share my sign?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we all have to have signs, right?
What do you got, Paul?
Yeah. So growing up, it was just me and my brother, and my mom always said, I wish I had a girl. I wish I had girls. They call, they check in, they call home, boys are boys, and blah, blah, blah. My brother got married, had 4 boys. When I got married, I had 2 boys and a girl, and my daughter was the closest thing you could think to a tomboy. So there wasn't really that legit girl that my mother was looking for, someone to check in and call home, because my daughter wasn't someone that was going to do that. So come time to have grandchildren, first grandchild, or what would be my mom had passed at the time, what would be her first great-grandchild, is a boy. So it's like, wow, this isn't looking good. So second grandchild is a girl. Finally, we get another girl. And we all go to a birthday party for my brother's first grandchild, which is a girl. And we're talking, it's Easter Sunday now. And we're talking, well, it's Saturday before Easter. And we're talking about, wouldn't mom be happy? Finally, there are girls in the family. So we leave and we go up to our beach house. And it's a warm Easter weekend. And on Easter Sunday, we go down to the beach. We're sitting around having a few drinks. And my granddaughter sits with me on one of the big rocks. And my daughter-in-law takes a picture and she says, oh, damn, the sun got in the way.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Can you see it?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's my mom.
Yeah.
For those that aren't watching this, get and watch the video, but it is the sun shining down on his granddaughter.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
3 guys sitting here crying, telling sign stories. This is
about that. Isn't that awesome?
Well, yeah. No, you guys are killing me here. I'm just whatever you believe and whatever you do, it's a blessing to have people in each other's lives like this. And I appreciate you both being a part of mine. And I got to catch a flight. I can't get. I'm sitting here going, man, I want to talk for 2 hours. We're gonna have another conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to
do this again and keep the Canadian connection.
Absolutely.
Keep the good connection to Canada going, so we can get some more all dressed potato chips, because that's an episode in itself.
And we've got some ideas that we're chasing down.
Yes,
too.
We talked. We gave a teaser with Be Awesome Facility Management, but we broke some bread last night. And Aubrey shared some stuff that he wants to do to leave his legacy in his community, and it's a lot in line with what I want to do in the Be Awesome world. So we're going to share some more stuff as we go past blueprinting this. But we're on a mission to make some difference in the world. So stay tuned for that. And Paul, thanks for joining. That was a knee-jerk idea to have you stick with us and for you to share that story and then get us emotional all over again is
purpose.
And I don't think you've ever shown me that picture, so now I'm gonna be mad at you, because every time every time I get something new that you get me choked up on, I go, damn it, Paul, why didn't you tell me this sooner? So,
Yeah.
I love you, my friend. Thank you for sharing
You
that. Thanks
too.
for coming on here.
Both you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
This
Thank
has
you.
been great.
It
My
has,
old friend and my newfound friend.
yes,
Awesome.
I love you both.
Yeah. Same,
absolutely.
bud.
So, listen, enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thanks.
Thanks for all that you do. Appreciate the heck out of you and being a friend and sharing this, because that's not easy. That's not an easy story to share by any stretch of the imagination. And we will be back to give people some more updates on the good stuff that we're doing. In the meantime, if you're listening to this podcast and we've earned your 5-star rating and review, that's what helps build our credibility, our presence, people knowing that to give us their time to listen. So give us that 5-star rating review only if we deserve it. If we don't, send Paul an email, because he's my complaint department, paul@beawesome.com. If we've earned that 5-star rating and review, I want to get you a free t-shirt. That's the difference. Paul gets the complaints, I get the free t-shirt request, but send me your name, address, shirt size, and we'll send you a free t-shirt, shipping and handling included. 50 states, and we'll do a couple for Canada, because I'll tell you right now, shipping a t-shirt to Canada is about $40. Believe it or not, which is crazy. Although if you do it quick enough, I can put a couple in Aubrey's suitcase, and I'll have them ship them from Canada. You can deliver. But no, this has been a great start to the year. Thank you for all your support, and in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.